Hey guys, welcome to the live stream for Griekspoor against Evans. This is of course the final of the City Open, the 2023 edition. Sorry that I'll be sitting here in like a piece of linen, but the problem is that basically today I got a bit sick, so it's super cold for me. So sorry. Well, I don't think it really matters for you, but that's why I will look kind of stupid. But anyway, Tallon Griekspoor Dan Evans, not exactly the most expected final, I think. There were certainly some lineups, like maybe Fritz, who was on the other half, let's say Fritz Tiafoe even, right? Which would have been like more predictable, but that's not what we got. We got Griekspoor Evans, and for what it's worth, I think it actually should be a pretty excellent final. Evans, such a wild story. He was basically 9-19, I think, for the year coming into this week. He had a couple of like large high point scoring results, like 180 for the Barcelona semis, also an ATP 500. He also had the Marrakesh semis. That's of course an ATP 250. Yeah, Ghosty, I just said I'm a little sick, so helps to keep me warm. But anyway, what I mean now with Evans was that he was 9-19. He comes into Washington and plays some brilliant tennis. Honestly, one of the best weeks of his career. Like if he wins, that's going to be the best week of his career, I suppose. I haven't actually checked that, but I doubt he has played an ATP 500 final before, right? I mean, he's definitely had a ton of free ATP 250 finals, and this is actually the first main tour final he's in since he won that first title in February 2021. So that kind of tells you how monumental this is for Dan Evans already, right? And Tallon Griekspoor just continues a very strong year. Right now on my screen, they're actually showing the route that he had to the final, and he started out with a beat down against Brody, and basically continued in that fashion. I didn't see the semi against Fritz yesterday, like it was fully at night for me. But yeah, Griekspoor is just having a phenomenal campaign. 2023, he's already won 2 titles, Pune and Hertogenbosch, both ATP 250s. Before this year, he actually didn't have a major trophy. He had some weaker moments on the clay for sure. I think especially when he struggled with that ankle injury that he was supposed to eventually get operated on, he didn't. So I don't know what's the status of it right now. He was actually struggling physically quite a lot against Gael Monfils, but then the match was stopped. I think it was even finished on the next day, and the action the day after that was just completely different. He came out again and just blasted huge serves and forehands like he does usually. Favorite here, I don't know if it even exists. Like there's 2 prior head-to-head meetings, both won by Evans. But the Tallon Griekspoor of 2022, can we really judge him based on that? I'm not sure. He finished the year ranked 95. This year he's like on track to finish in the top 30, let's say. Right now on the screen we also have the head-to-head. So Evans, of course, beat him in the Davis Cup in September, and then Antwerp a month later. It was 6-4, 6-4 in the Davis Cup, 6-3, 6-4 in Antwerp. So fairly comfortable. Does Tallon Griekspoor have like slice-related issues? I'm not sure. Like on the one hand, he was blasted off the court by Fucsovics at Wimbledon, but at the same time, he's beaten Jordan Thompson recently, also on grass. So I don't really think that's the case. But yeah, Evans, of course, a very smart player, underrated competitor as well. Would not be shocking at all to see him win this final, even if I believe that Griekspoor is probably the stronger player at the moment. What's Griekspoor's record this year? I can tell you, two titles for sure, but I'll Google like his win rate, but it's definitely way better, and it's like excellent actually. I think it's 27-12 right now. Evans was of course 9-19 coming into this week, but right now it's bumped up to was he a seed? He was a seed, so 14-19, right? No, 13-19. Also have to say thanks to Kathy, who became a new member just before the stream. Of course, very glad to have your support, and lovely to have you here. And yeah, hope you enjoy. And also, Nurlan is talking about Iga was standing across from Coco today. She would have lost. I did not watch that Washington final, so I'm not sure, like, how she beat her. Because what really changes, like, in this matchup, which has been extremely tough for Goff, right? Like, what sort of improvements did Goff introduce today to make you think that this time it would have been different? As I said, I didn't watch the Washington final. There were still 2 challenger finals going on, so didn't really have a spare screen. And also, like, I'm basically dying to get into bed today, but because, as I said, I got a bit sick today. But yeah, after this I still have like an article to write, so it's not going to be for like 3 hours, I think. But I'm going to find, and I definitely want to watch this Washington ATP 250 final because that seems like a good show. ATP 500, of course. Sorry. And yeah, Ghosty 919 is rough, and yet he may win a title. And also, like, with this run already, regardless of if he wins 500 or 300 points, he's actually in the top 40 of the ATP race. So it's kind of crazy that with this sort of a win rate, you can be so high up. But you just have to peak in like it's sometimes it's just better not to be like not consistent, but just peak. And like when you peak in certain weeks, it has to be really strong. And Evans has done this so far. As I said, well, Australian Open round 3 maybe wasn't a peak, but that's also wasn't really peaking or something. But that was also 90 points for kind of nothing, because he beat Jeremy Chardy and Facundo Bagis. But Marrakesh, obviously, he had major chances to win that one over Kerbais Baena. He played some of his best tennis in Barcelona, but then was easily dispatched by Carlos Alcaraz because, well, Carlos Alcaraz. And yeah, and here, of course, is the main result so far for him this year. So far, we've just started 2 points. Evans serving great and going forward into the net. Both guys, I'm assuming, we're going to see a lot of short rallies and serve. For his height, Evans probably has one of the strongest deliveries on the ATP Tour, and also uses it smartly to to stay on the attack while not having that much firepower. And yeah, Griekspoor is just more about the raw force. Thank you, Nurlan. But yeah, that's interesting. Sort of going back to that Świątek Goff thing. It's pretty interesting that still like a younger player than Świątek has not beaten her on the tour. And I'm not talking main tour. I'm talking about any professional match. And yeah, I mean, Goff has to be one of the candidates to do it. Although personally, like with how this matchup has looked so far, I'm probably like my vote would go for Andreeva or maybe Qinwen Zheng. At some point it has to happen. Still, like, Świątek, of course, doesn't really play all that many opponents who are younger than her, at least not for now. So far, fairly all. Tallon was able to extract a lot of pressure in this previous rally with his forehand crosscourt. Obviously, in this matchup, it's like Evans who has to come up with more, right? Like he needs to be the one like finding ways to win points. Griekspoor will just be hoping that the serve and forehand carry him through, which is very possible. But we know he has struggled with Evans in the past. Although I don't really remember either of these 2022 matches. And as I said, like, Griekspoor was simply not as ready to compete on the main tour last year as he is right now. I guess, like, performance in the final, neither player should be like overwhelmingly nervous. It's the first one for Evans in 2.5 years and the biggest title of his career, but I think he's gonna do okay, right? he definitely had some struggles early on to grab that first ATP title, but by the time he made it, I think he's going to be fine. And Tallon, he's already played and won 2 main tour finals this year, both very high quality. Some great stuff from Evans, sort of exposing the lack of lateral movement on Griekspoor here in this rally. Well, the lack, of course, he moves pretty decently, but like that counter wrong footing Tallon and then same direction, that was too tough for him to deal. Anything in the chat? Dude, I find Qin Zheng extremely overrated. She cannot return and doesn't have a proper baseline game. Well, she is definitely extremely erratic, hit or miss. But I still think like that she's just too good of a ball striker not to make it at some point. Although it is taking her longer than I thought. Yeah, I do have to agree with that. She's recently started working with a new coach, right? So maybe this will provide a change up. I'm of course right now blanking on who it is, but it's a very famous name, right? Like previously she was working with Pereriba, of course, the former Spanish top 100 player, and I think right now it's yeah, I'm blanking right. Oh, Wim Fissette, right? The Belgian. So maybe he's going to provide a bit of a shakeup in the Zhang situation. Yeah, she's not meeting the expectations for sure, and she's also like she's been losing in so many early matches at the slams, whereas you would expect her to like go deep or something. Oh, Vanch is here, so I will let him in after I find my earphones. Ooh. So that we don't get the echo. That would be an issue. Hello, Vanch.
Hey there, Damien.
How
are you? I think you're on mute. Yeah, I think your mic was
okay
off.
now? I think.
Yeah, you're good now. You can hear you.
No, I still hear you on the earphone. Hear you on the speakers. But I will try to do something about it. You can speak, right? I mean,
Yeah, I can. And I'm actually just trying to get the stream up.
okay. I'm trying to just fix one thing.
So I think I've got it now.
How do I tell my StreamYard to go to my earphones? It's the question that I'm struggling with right now. But hopefully I can find a solution to this. Yeah, I'm just laughing at something that Ghosty said. Anyway, 1-all, 15-all. Vansh, can you say something so that I know if I fixed my problem or not?
Yes. Can you guys hear me?
Okay. No, we can hear you all right. It's just me who's...
Cool.
All
right, yeah.
I have a problem that it's like not... the sound is not going through my earphones, but through my speakers. But
yeah, John is saying to click the 3 buttons on the audio.
Click the 3 buttons. Jesus. Oh, yeah, here it is. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Okay, no, it should be fine now. Anyway, there was also a comment from Sreven Toscanini about Alima, next big one. I'm assuming that's Kornieva. Yeah, maybe she's the one. We actually got back here, Vanch, like we got back to talking about the next, like the first player younger than Świątek who will beat her, because Nurlan was very impressed with that showing that she had against Sakari today in the final. And like said that if Świątek was on the other side of the net, he could imagine her losing. I don't know if you've watched that or not.
Sakari?
Yeah.
Yeah, Sakari and Goff. I commentated on that final actually with
Okay.
Srihari. So yeah.
And how was it?
It was one of those. It was one of those matches where the quality was patchy at times. But actually, the main takeaway for the week was just Goff's forehand holding up better than it had done previously, especially this whole year and pretty much her whole career. So like because working with Per Riba and Brad Gilbert and the forehand just looks a bit more controlled, hitting it with better pace and depth. The footwork on it definitely looks better. Still need to see, of course, how it holds up against some bigger hitters. On the WTA, it held up pretty well against Samsonova, and she was able to draw a lot of errors off of it. And then same against Sakari, who of course had her nervy moments in the final. But overall, I think this is some of the best tennis I've seen her play, especially serving and just keeping the unforced errors to a minimum. So it was a much needed positive rebound after the first round loss at Wimbledon, I think, for Coco.
Fair. Shout
And
out
then
to
the Sakari,
Riba.
I thought it was a more important match for Sakari to win, just given that she's like 28 now, and then just all the semifinal finals, numbers piling up, and she's well aware of it, of course. But
she's too well aware of it as well, because like you just start
almost
developing this sort of a mental block. Nurlan was asking about Kornieva. Honestly, kind of have to see her against like some better players. I watched a bit of her in Figueira da Foz just a couple of weeks ago. Like she kind of struggled with Harriet Dart. I kind of have, I just want to see her against like something like Andreeva had in Madrid, right? Just 2 or 3 matches against top opposition. Because we've had a lot of these 16, 17-year-olds. Just like, I don't know, Brenda Fruhvirtova being the main example, right? And her sister as well. And like they're both struggling right now. I thought Brenda was actually gonna make it like somewhat smoothly. Linda, I'm very pessimistic about for now. But I just don't want to sort of make the same mistake again, I suppose. Andreeva definitely seems like the more exciting prospect right now. But yeah, I would like to see like two or 3 matches against top opposition for Kornieva, which I don't really think has happened so far. Of course, the Australian Open, like if you count Mira Andreeva of January as top opposition, would count, and it was a fantastic final. One of the best ones we had in years, I think, on the girls singles side.
Sorry, just laughing at the comments. Ghosty. But what do you think about this match, of course? Because Evans obviously played incredible tennis against Tiafoe and Dimitrov.
The semis I couldn't really watch. It was much too late. But in general, Evans beat Griekspoor twice last year. I don't really think that's the most important thing in the world, given that 2022 Griekspoor basically ended ranked barely in the top 100, and of course right now he's just achieving much bigger things. But like with how smart Evans plays, kind of like his chances, and definitely it's like a bit of a matchup of tennis IQ against a bit of brute force, which should make for a very entertaining final. And even though it's a little bit of an unexpected lineup, I'm expecting a close and closely contested match, and probably a high quality one as well. So far, of course, pretty hard to tell anything. It's just the 4th game. Griekspoor made like a horrible forehand unforced error a second ago. and he's 15-30 down.
Yeah, a bit of a different match against Fritz, of course, where it's a lot more power v power and really absorbing the blows. And then he honestly, I thought from 3-all in the second set to the end of the match, Fritz didn't do a whole lot wrong. It was actually Griekspoor really peaking, playing some fantastic tennis, like just unbelievable ball striking off the forehand, and making Tallon move corner to corner and just defend like crazy. And it was all just like going in basically, and he was finishing points at the net too, and it was just a sublime display of offensive tennis at the very high level. And,
hello to all the guys in the chat saying hello. So is Anastasia? I suppose she's in the chat. I don't know if she's. I mean, she's in the stadium, looking at the comments. I don't know if she's gonna be able to hear us. Probably not. So she's probably just chatting with Ghosty here. But that's a cool day so far. Hopefully this final is better. Hopefully this final will be better for Anastasia rather than the previous one. And they're very swiftly saved as well. There was another that forehand error that made it go 15-40 was another one of these where maybe it actually makes you start. Maybe Griekspoor has a slice problem after all, but we'll see. That's a wicked angle on that serve and use. I mean, it was just unbelievable. And it makes sense right now with Anastasia saying in the chat that she is. Oh, she can hear us. That she's trying not to get hit by Tallon's serve. Like this one actually went into the crowd, I think. Goff over Pegula and Japert, says Nurlan, who is desperate for some WTA talk. But of course, we can do the WTA talk as well. Yeah, I mean, Pegula. For sure, I think in terms of like long-term prospects, she has to be higher up. It's gonna be fairly hard to replicate what Jabeur did, though, like 3 Grand Slams already. But at the same time, of course, Goff has so many years to try to do that, and she has a Grand Slam final as well already.
Where's your stream at right now, Damien? If you don't mind.
My stream is at 2-all. Evans is
cool.
Prepping to
serve. I just want to make
I
sure
think
we're in the same place because.
Yeah, I think maybe there was a let or something, and now he threw out the.
And then the ace to hold. Could Evans make the top 10? I don't think so. I think he's just limited by doesn't have a whole lot of weapons and firepower, to be honest. I don't really see him as a top 10 player, but I see him kind of top 30 for another couple of years, maybe. Like, why not? Because he seems to have 1 or 2 really magical weeks throughout the whole year, basically. 2021 it was Monte Carlo, and then last year it was Canada, where he made the semifinal. Lost a really good match to Fernando Busta, of course, there. And then this week it's Barcelona and then here. But I don't think he has the week-to-week consistency and the temperament, plus the weapons. I just think too many players at the very best can exploit the lack of weaponry, and he's not the tallest guy, of course, but he's super gifted in terms of his hands and his athleticism also around the court. I think it's pretty underrated, and he kind of recognizes all of his strengths. And he's really fun to watch, honestly. One of my favorite players to watch.
Absolutely. And like I think he has had like a very interesting evolution as a player. Evolution, no pun intended. But in that, he basically like grew up as a bit of a grass fast hardcourt player, and right now, of course, he's getting like so many results on clay and like winning through competing well and like maybe outsmarting the opponents rather than actually relying on like a serve and a net game and etc. So I think he absolutely deserves to be in the top 50. Top 10 would be a bit of a stretch, I think. Like, just so hard for him to grab this many consistent results. How many points does it take like right now to get to the top 10? 3.5, 3,000. So yeah, it's just such a major leap. Top 10 right now, 3,000 front FO. Of course, that's going to be relative. That's going to be changing with every single week. But yeah, it's a huge leap that he would have to make simply.
Someone in the chat
Yeah,
is asking about
basically
Spotify.
double his points.
If you see top 10 potential in her, I think that potential is there for sure. I mean, she did pretty well in like Indian Wells in Miami, made back-to-back pretty. She had those tough losses to Pegula. Would need to see a little bit more consistency, but I feel like the bread and butter in terms of the power game is good enough to be borderline top 10.
Yeah, I think I am on record somewhere on Talking Tennis at the beginning of the year saying that the next two top 10 players will be Potapova and Qin Zheng. So clearly I do believe in that.
Yeah.
I mean, right now it kind of looks like maybe Mira Andreeva will be faster or someone like that. But yeah, I think eventually
top tens.
Eventually, both of them, Potapova, Zhenk, I think eventually they both should be top 10 players, and also the fact that like her game is just so well balanced. It's not really. It doesn't have to be about the power. So in that sense, she's definitely like better than Kim Zheng in that she simply has a multi-dimensional skill set, can defend as well, and should be an exciting prospect. She's lost some tight matches this year, which I think if she won, she already would have been a lot more further along. Especially like off the top of my head, I have to think about these Pegula ones during the Sunshine Double, right?
Yeah.
She wins that, and she's already a lot of points ahead of what she has right now, and also confidence. But yeah, eventually, I think both of them should be top 10 players at some point. I don't know if like mainstays there. I would probably give more chance to Zhenk if she can somehow figure out her stuff, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah. Someone just texted me that if Tallon's first serve percentage drops down, he thinks Evans will win. And, it's a fair assessment, I think, of the first 5 games. Like, certainly it's super important for the Dutchman to get easy points on serve, because so far it just hasn't been working out for him, really, when Evans gets to the slice. And, he's struggling to accelerate of that a bit.
Just gonna check some of the qualifying results for Toronto. And yeah, how about Pekotic getting the win yesterday over Ivashka? You see that one?
Yeah, but he didn't win today, so
yeah, he lost to Armani.
Let me see that one coming. He's definitely playing at like a challenger level right now. Ivashka is kind of awful at the moment. And he's not really coming back, I think. Yeah, very different conditions too, yeah. And of course, Pekotic is way less of a random than people tend to paint him as. Like the fact that he's not playing full time right now is, of course, a very good fun fact. But like, the guy was a phenomenal college player for Princeton, the best ever in the history of the program, and also, of course, a challenger final in 2015, getting to about 200 in the rankings. So, it's not like he's an absolute random out of nowhere.
Oh, do you want to answer this one from John as host of the Ivan Carlos podcast? Which one is winning the U.S. Open? Which one is it? Oh, one is winning the U.S. Open. Which one is it?
One is winning the U.S. Open. Which one is it?
Probably Alcaraz, just based on competition, field, draw. I don't know. Based on,
Yeah.
I'll probably pick Carlos.
Like for the for the fact that right now we have like 3 contenders to win the US Open on the men's side, and like anyone anyone outside of that is a shock already. I kind of have to say Alcaraz, because just on the women's there are so many more contenders, and also the best of 3 format, of course, which we usually talk about. The court's not necessarily suiting her all that much, despite winning last year. At least how they played, in recent memory. So there is definitely some upset potential in the early rounds for Świątek, which doesn't really happen at Roland Garros, but it does in Melbourne and New York. Alcaraz should be less vulnerable just because it's best of 5.
Yeah.
So
and also
yeah,
the biggest question is, where does Medvedev land in the draw?
yeah.
Because if he's
We
in
had
Alcaraz's half, then we've seen that matchup now twice.
yeah, basically, there was this US Open already in 2021, right? When we had three favorites for the title as well, and it was Zverev, Djokovic, and Medvedev. Djokovic beats Zverev in 5, and then lost to Medvedev, of course, in that final where he was going for the calendar Grand Slam. But still, like that was a very similar situation, I think, where you could basically count on all of these guys to make the semis. And right now, I kind of have to wait to see the draw before I start making a prediction like this. But yeah, that year, 2 years ago, it definitely felt very similar. And I remember just seeing the draw and thinking that there's no way all of these guys, there's basically no way either one of these guys loses before the semis. Who was the 4th semifinalist? Felix or?
Felix, yeah.
Felix, yeah. So he definitely felt like the odd one out there at the time.
Good news for Felix, by the way, he is finally healthy. So we did get to see one match of him in Washington where he was healthy. It was the best match against Botanuki, but now he's playing in his home tournament. Actually, who does Felix play in the first round?
He got like one of the easiest qualifiers. Who it was? I don't remember who it was right now. But he definitely was pretty lucky. Yeah. Doesn't mean he will win. It doesn't really mean she will win, right? But I mean, he will win. But it is a possibility for sure with this sort of draw. And yeah, of course, John is saying like all the things right in the chat about the women's and men's contenders for the US Open. And yeah, I'm not really sure who's favorite for the US Open right now. On the women's side, I can check like what sort of odds are we talking about, but I actually think it might be Sabalenka over Świątek, just off the top of my head, but I don't know if that's actually true. Might not be. Like, I think Świątek is still perceived as like someone who maybe just has more consistency. Yeah, it is Świątek ahead of Sabalenka and Rybakina, according to the bookmakers. Yeah, I get it. Corey Goff as the 4th favorite, by the way. Oh, some have Onjabeur as 4th, some Jessica Pegula. Maybe some have not yet, introduced the Washington final to the.
Evans is doing a job of neutralizing Tallon's power so far, as you would expect. He seems to be holding his service games with more ease at the minute.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course, when Griekspoor has got the footwork right, he's been good at moving up to the net on some of those slices. But he makes it really hard, Evans, because he just puts the ball in such awkward places, and he recognizes exactly when to come in, and he's just so gifted moving the ball on the court. Yeah, and someone made a comment that they enjoy watching Evans more than Nori. I think it might have been Jake. Yeah, I think so. I think so
More
too.
than who?
I'm with you on that.
More than who?
Definitely. More than Nori.
Oh
More
yeah,
than Nori as
definitely.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
So,
Like Evans is probably one of my favorite players to watch on the ATP side. So yeah, 100%. I like old school, classic tennis. Lots of slicing, lots of volleying. So, although I have to agree that this year, like, it hasn't really worked out that well for him. So
yeah, and of course we saw him lose that tight match in Atlanta, which that was deflating for his confidence. So for him to have a week like this, essentially defend all of his points from next week, is pretty
yeah,
big, I think. I mean, regardless of even if, of course, if he loses this final, he'll
yeah,
still
he's
have
like a
made
bit
300
under,
points.
but yeah, it
Yeah,
doesn't really matter all that much. And yeah, he's now top 40 in the ATP race, right? After going 9-19 before Washington, which is pretty crazy, but kinda again like example. It's
wow.
just a good
Yeah, and he
example
only
of
had 8 wins. He only had 8 wins
nine.
before here. Wow. Yeah, and I mean, like, what, 3 or 4 of those were in Barcelona, where he beat Hachinov and he beat.
Yeah, yeah, he had a ninth
So
win as
everyone.
well at Surbiton. I have to.
Oh, I was talking about just main tour official, but yeah,
Yeah,
I know he had some, and yeah, tell me about it.
I have to. So
Honestly, if it were up to me, like I would include all. I would have those all be
everyone with a
announcing.
brain would
Like
include
that's.
it. I think
It
like
just doesn't
it,
make sense. But
yeah, it doesn't make sense whatsoever. At the same time, you include the Laver Cup. I mean,
yeah,
I guess it also doesn't really matter all that much because, like, you know, I guess it just sort of would help to paint the image of, like, the Challenger Tour existing to people, and ITFs and
yeah,
etc. Just all the lower levels of professional tennis. I think it is just one of these small details that would make it more accessible, and, like, yeah, just get more people to realize that things like this exist, that the top 100 guys are not the only ones competing on the pro tour every single week. But yeah, at the same time, I kind of understand that it's like a minor detail, and who cares really? Like, what does it actually change? These matches are still 90%, 95% of the time they are still included in the head-to-heads, just in the other matches section, right?
mm,
I think it used to be called, by the way, like maybe it still is called like this, but I think it used to be like qualifying challenger and futures matches or something like that, in that ATP
mm.
head-to-head section, and you could very easily sort out the like, who knows anything about tennis when you read their article, and there was something about, like, challenger and futures match because they just copied it off the ATP side, and were not aware that these are two
Oh,
different things. But yeah, most of the time
right.
I agree that it's, like, not really that important. But if I can bring any attention to this, and then, like, keep mentioning this, and also it will be very relevant next week regarding Evans, because he played Diallo in Surbiton already this year. So
Yeah,
the head-to-head between them actually exists. It's not a first meeting. Provided Evans doesn't withdraw, but I really doubt he does that with 360 points to defend.
by the way, how much do we know about the conditions in Toronto versus Montreal? Toronto traditionally plays a little bit quicker, but
Yeah,
I think
I
it's much more similar now than it used to be, because I remember Montreal in 2019 was really slow. I think it's
yeah,
I think it's more or
uh
less similar now to the US Open. Is
yeah.
that fair to
It's
say?
kind of hard to actually, like, find many real differences. I think one of these, and I think it was Montreal, that sort of like caught the spin of the shots a bit more. Like, Nadal was better at it,
Yeah,
right?
there's a reason
But
why he won that more. I think.
Yeah, exactly.
You had more attacking
So
players winning Toronto, right? Like you had.
Yeah,
Obviously, you had Tsitsipas getting to
I
the
think
final in
so.
2018.
Joelfried
Songa won it in
Songa, for
14.
example. Exactly.
Federer
Songa
twice, and he never won Montreal.
never won in Montreal. Yeah, so I think it makes
And
sense.
like
Yeah,
players
but
like Murray, I guess Murray won both, but you still have him winning Toronto in 2010.
yeah, but at the same time, you have, I don't know, Shapovalov beating Nadal in 2017 in Montreal, right? So I
Oh
guess
yeah,
it can really go both ways. It's definitely not like a major difference. I think like it's close enough to a point where it's pretty hard to get something out of it.
I had this unpopular opinion that we should keep the
I
points
saw it. Yeah,
for
I saw it.
from Montreal and do that. But honestly, I get why people are not on board with that, especially because
No, I'm not either.
Wimbledon, especially also with all the COVID rules that we had, COVID rankings that we just had, where we basically had points for 2 years. And plus, people were making the point that conditions vary just year to year because surface change and like courts
Yeah,
change, and it's
I
more.
agree. Like points should be just on a 52-week basis. Like that's what the ATP wants to go for. I don't know why they would
Yeah, but
introduce an
here's the thing: is
event.
about what do they do with events that are like not on the calendar anymore? Then it's like
Yeah,
if you have like San Diego, for instance, is not going to be on the calendar this year. It was a 250 last year, post US Open.
yeah.
Those points will just
So
fall off, right? Like
I mean, yeah, it's just it doesn't matter where you earned them
doesn't matter
at
where
all.
you. It doesn't really matter the tournaments. It's just 52-week.
Yeah, I mean it's just 52 weeks. It doesn't matter. Anonymous Lizard is asking, Damien, have you gotten into a fight over Holden Hiscock? I have no clue who Holden Hiscock is. So I don't have a clue. But yeah, anyway, yeah, 52 weeks. I mean, every single year there are so many events dropping off the calendar and showing up. Like it's basically like it would be possible to do it, but it just wouldn't really make sense, I think, especially for the lower tours where yeah, the calendar is just extremely unstable, and every single time it's just very different every single year, right? So I don't think it would really work. It would also, like, maybe one event wouldn't be that big, but it would also lessen the chances of like young players who haven't been on the tour yet, because what the hell is happening in the chat? But yeah, anyway, I think it would lessen the chances of young players to just gain good ranking points, and it would actually promote the guys who have been playing for at least 2 years. There are, of course, sports that work on a 2-year ranking system. I don't know, snooker or darts. But I think you can see in these sports that
Would it
it's
just be
just
really
really tough.
confusing though if they just did this for 1 week?
Yeah,
Because like
it
this
would
is the
be.
only one where it's like alternating every year. And it's like
Um,
it's kind of
yeah, but like this is all
it's
very
like
main
basically two
tour
different
centric.
tournaments.
Yeah, but I really just think that it's really like really main tour centric. Like the calendar is not as fixed anywhere else. So anywhere
Mm,
else, I just don't think it really has a point whatsoever. Uh,
yeah.
some interesting comments there. I'm afraid I have like an ini belly button, which is probably the most one, the common one, right? I don't know if I should reply to this, but I will. Why? Why?
That's just pulling your back. It's like
Yeah,
everyone's
but
broke a
anyway,
string.
we haven't been talking about the match all that much, but maybe there's going to be something going on right now in the 4-5-15 all game. Still definitely like what we said at the beginning of the broadcast, Griekspoor just powering through. There was a pretty ridiculous forehand that he hit like 2 games ago. and Evans trying to disrupt him. But so far, outside of that one game where he had 2 breakpoints, he has been unsuccessful. Ooh. Some persistence there from Dan Evans. Finally getting the reward in a missed smash from Griekspoor.
To see this point.
I was like fully about to say that after watching like a rally like this, it's kind of hard to believe that Griekspoor could have a slice problem. And, the missed smash doesn't really change anything. But yeah, it just sort of changed the outlook of this point. Because, of course, now Evans is 2 points away from the set.
Yeah.
Ooh, and another nasty error from Griekspoor. This time actually not handling the slice well. It was a cheap return from the Brit, and he gets the error off the backhand. So set point Evans, kind of out of nowhere, but at the same time, yeah, we said that that Evans was holding much more easily.
Yeah.
That's not gonna matter though if he keeps finding aces on all the pressure points. Probably not gonna show you my belly button.
He's been one of the best servers under pressure, I feel like, this year. He's erasing a lot of big point chances, especially this tournament.
We have a visitor. He's just laughing. He's just there laughing. And we can hear the stories of the street. And yeah, an anonymous lizard was banned. I was just treating this like a viewer is a viewer, right? But yeah, that's fine. I think it's a very reasonable decision. And meanwhile, Griekspoor can get it to 5-all if he wins this point. Evans just forcing him to hit inside in and inside out forehands constantly after the slice, but he finds a great one inside in. Great winner, so 5-all. Yeah, that was my belly button on the third cam. Yes, you're right, Ghosty.
Tallon showing what a talented player he is with that forehand inside in.
Yeah, 98 miles per hour first serves. I guess I didn't see the serve in question, I guess, or maybe I just didn't notice, but I suppose it must have been a sliced one or something. But yeah, anyway, that ace, of course, to save the set point, and then the huge inside in forehand to win the game. And he handled the slice quite well there, so no worries in that department so far from Tallon. And certainly a fast-paced match like we expected.
Yeah. Thoughts on Tsitsipas winning in Cabo? He's now the fourth seed in Montreal and sorry, not Montreal, Toronto.
Toronto, yeah.
Fourth seed in Montreal and Cincinnati.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, he might like. Nothing really. Like he was okay, but I think he might suffer from the conditions jump a little bit. We shall see, but
A little bit.
he's
I will
probably
say in the past, he's done well whenever he's won a title. To win many matches the next week or get to a final or something like that.
But
you're definitely
yeah,
right about the conditions.
they're definitely
And obviously he had the favorable matchup in the final.
Yeah, and not in the semis, at least in theory, but
yeah, and in the
this time it didn't work out for Chorich at all.
I think it kind of shows that the matchup was more kind of in his head, because
it definitely was.
Open,
it was,
like,
yeah.
It didn't
6
feel
match
like
points at the US
tactical.
Open, and this match at the United Cup was also like that, right? He had a huge lead. I mean, he eventually ended up winning, but like he had a huge lead, which he almost blew.
Yeah.
Should be 6-5 Evans, so he has secured the tiebreak. See if he is able to make that one last push before we get there.
I will be back in just a minute. Just gonna go get something to eat.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so you guys are stuck with me for a moment. I'll probably take a short break as well after the set is done, I think. But of course, Vansh will be there with you then. Or if he's not back, I'm just gonna take the break later. But anyway, yeah, anything else to talk about so far? Let me maybe glance at the stats. Evans has only dropped 5 points on serve so far, and they've been like one of them was a double fault. Griekspoor had to save 3 break points, but otherwise he actually has been going through his service games pretty smoothly as well. Like he's only lost 8 points in 5 games. It's just that they combined into 3 break points saved. And yeah, he's hit 8 aces so far. The most important one, of course, on the set point. And there's a very clear drop-off as well in the accuracy of, well, maybe let's say the efficiency of Griekspoor winning his serve points, depending on if he makes the first one. And that's 86% to 38, which of course is quite huge. Evans doesn't really have it, but yeah, as someone mentioned earlier, like Griekspoor is just hitting so many first serves that it doesn't really matter at all. The winner's unforced errors stats on Flash Score are like totally bugged, and they're saying that Griekspoor has 2 unforced errors and Evans has 1, which of course is not really true at all. But, yeah, usually the Flash Score winner unforced error stats are unreliable, if there is even a thing like reliable winners unforced error stats, since it's basically an unofficial statistic. But anyway, this game is huge, of course, with Griekspoor serving 5-6 down in the opening set. Everyone's laughing about something with the crowd, definitely a joyous mood. But let's see if he will be still in a joyous mood after after this game is played out. So far, so good, with Griekspoor making a +1 backhand error. I don't think this was actually a chip though, so not like the previous backhand error that kind of got him into trouble. Into trouble, not into a trouble. That got him into trouble at 4-5 at 30-all. But yeah, he just missed that one a bit long. That's a huge serve, but it was a let, so. And that was one of these slower first serves, I think. But another backhand error from Griekspoor, and it's now love 30. Definitely looks kind of frustrated, Griekspoor, right now, especially after missing this ball after Evans's slice. Negative body language while he talks to his team as well. Well, Evans must be a frustrating player to compete against. I'm pretty sure. Both a good competitor and also a tricky playstyle that you don't really want to be facing. And the first serve is not coming in clutch. It's not appearing so far this game. Another cheap return from Evans, but this time Griekspoor hits through it. Wow, I mean this barely had any net clearance, but he was able to get it over the net anyway, and that was just a huge +1 forehand. But yeah, this looked bad for Griekspoor, like the situation that he was in at this point. He's made a few errors like this already. Very little net clearance, as I said. Yet so far he saves himself 15-30. Another chip return. Evans approaches the net, but he will get passed by... Sorry, Griekspoor approaches the net, but he will get passed by Evans. Beautiful banana forehand there. He just didn't do enough on the approach shot down. But again, I guess it was just a matter of the chipped return from Evans being just slightly tricky to hit through. So the Brit makes the pass, and he gets another couple of set points. This will be breakpoint number 4 in this set, but set point number 2. Eventually, there might as well be set point number 3 and breakpoint number 5. But I think this first serve is also out from Tallon, so yeah, it's just disappeared so far. Ooh, and he makes another backhand unforced error. That was not a good game from the Dutchman. Of course, a great passing shot winner by Evans, but yeah, it just wasn't really good enough otherwise from Griekspoor. We've got a set already.
Yeah.
Have you seen it, or like the last game?
I did. I saw the passing shot and
okay.
I saw the set point.
So I think I will take a bit of a break now. Just have to go to the... Well, I'm not going to tell you where I have to go, but you can probably guess. But I will be back in a second.
Yeah, so it felt like Evans was the better player throughout that set, as he was the one creating more chances on Tallon Griekspoor's serve. Let's see if Griekspoor can come back from this. Obviously, he had the adrenaline of the win yesterday. Huge win, the biggest win of his career against Fritz. Took the opportunity, but Evans is playing magnificent tennis. This is some of the best tennis you'll ever see him play. I mean, to hit 3 unforced errors in the first set, one double fault, one off the forehand, one off the backhand, just tremendous stuff. And of course, serving really well as well, winning 82% of his second serve points. Griekspoor really struggling, on the other hand, on his second serve, winning just 33%. I think Evans is just one of those confidence players. I think he's one of those players where he just backs himself that eventually the right week will come, and it will just all kind of click into gear. And I feel like he's a good player this time of the year generally. Last year, in August is when he had that run. He always seems to win matches every year in Atlanta. In New York, I believe he's been to the 4th round twice. So he does like the North American hard courts in general. Not so much Indian Wells and Miami, which are slower, but these faster ones. Give us a surprise at the US. Who is the Tiafo? Like as an American man or just generally? I don't know. Who am I really high on that's like kind of a dark horse? Maybe like an early dark horse. I don't think it'll be Eubanks. I just think that run of form has managed to fade a little bit. Who's it going to be this year? It's a good question. I would love to see some of the clay court players, how their games transition to the hard courts. By clay court players, I mean the players who played the post-Wimbledon clay swing. I'm very interested to see how Arthur Feast does in this swing. Tournaments coming up, because I think he can make some noise. Who else? I honestly don't know if there's ever going to be if we're going to get a surprise semifinalist this year. I feel so good about Djokovic and Alcaraz And I think Medvedev, unless he gets a nightmare draw, will probably be there too. Please don't say Korda. No, I'm not high on Korda right now. It's a shame he couldn't build on his good January, but I am high on him long term. But I just don't think he's playing well enough right now. Team had a very good week. Getting to the final is always of course a positive, albeit he got through some really tight matches, and the week could have totally gone differently. I mean, if he doesn't convert those 6 set points in the first set tiebreak against Magnus, and then same in the, or excuse me, if Magnus doesn't convert the 6 set points he had in the first set, and chances in the second set tiebreak, and then of course you have the comeback wins over Arthur Rinderknecht, and then the really big one over Laszlo Djere, and won basically 3 matches in a row from a set down. And at the end, I think he just totally ran out of gas against Baez, and he needed to be more aggressive with his return position, and particularly because Baez doesn't have a big serve. But that's just the way kind of team plays, and I just think, he just didn't really have the explosiveness in the final because he was so fatigued. But I think if he can build on this, we'll see if it was kind of just an aberration or if he can actually finish the year in the top 50. I think finishing the year in the top 50 is a good goal, for sure. Yari is a good shout. Most of his results have been on clay and grass. So we haven't seen the biggest sample size main tour level on a hard court yet, but I was impressed against him. I was impressed with his level all throughout this year. Even the match he played against Tsitsipas and Cabo, I do think those conditions are slower than most of the hard court events we'll see this year. But he's just overall a good player, and I think he can get to the 4th round, even a quarterfinal wouldn't really shock me. Jari, that is. No, to be honest, I actually think he showed pretty good stamina team throughout this whole week. I mean, those were some really, the 3 hour, 30-minute match was the longest ever match, 3 set match he's ever played in his career. So I think it was kind of normal because it wasn't just one match, it was like 4 matches in a row plus the whole, with like short turnarounds basically. So I think his fitness is fine. I think the big takeaway for me was that he was going bigger on the forehand, which is what I've been wanting to see. Him actually go after that ball, because now the last 1 year and a half, he's just been doubting his forehand in really big moments and just been playing really very passively and defensively and grinder type tennis, and that's not who Team is. Team hits the ball big off of both wings, and he imposes himself, and that's what he was doing more and more this week. On the women's side, besides those 3, I would say watch out for Samsonova. She can go on a run. She likes these. She likes the North American hardcourt swing. Of course, Coco, you want to keep an eye out on her. I'm trying to see if I have any like kind of hot take on another player who I think. I mean, obviously Svitolina. That's not really a hot take. The way she's playing right now, I think she's going to finish the year in the top 10. Interested to see how Andreescu does this tournament, because home event, and also just we know she's a great player when she's in form and healthy. But she just plays too many 3-setters and injury prone and losing a lot of tight matches. But who else? Marta Kostyuk is someone who I think can actually have a good run. Maybe get to a second week. That wouldn't shock me. Who else?
Yo.
Oh, Damien, you're back.
Yo,
Do you have any dark horses for the US Open?
Let me look at the rankings like off the top of my head.
I can hear you.
No, you can't.
Or turn your speaker on or something.
Yeah. You should be able to hear me. I don't know.
Griekspoor under a little bit more pressure. He really went after a second serve there. It's love 30. Double fault. Seems like Evans has most of the momentum ever since 5-0 in the. Already since Griekspoor was serving at 4-5 in the second set. First set.
You really can't hear me, or
that's one free point, but
no, you can't.
So far.
No.
Krejcikova is hurt right now, isn't she? She pulled out of Prague. Was injured in her match at Wimbledon against Andreeva.
Can you hear me now?
So you just see her healthy. I haven't seen the best of Krejcikova since what? Miami, Indian Wells, Dubai, where she won. Yes, I do think Garcia is not a contender right now, unfortunately. She's great with that aggressive style when it's working, but she just doesn't really adjust her return position, and she looks really stressed this year. I can't hear Damien. I don't know why.
Okay. Can you hear me now? No.
Still can't hear him.
That's on your end then. They can hear me. But anyway, dark horses for the US Open, I guess, was the question. I kind of have to look through the rankings, but also John Krejcikova, just stop it. You've been wrong so many times.
Do well. I mean, Azarenka is one of those players that just doesn't really need a lot of form, and she just shows up in some big events, even without a ton of momentum.
That's a good reference, Ghosty.
Semis at the US Open, I don't know if I'd be that shocked.
Yeah, it's kind of iffy right now with Vash not hearing me, but everyone else hearing me. So,
all right, let's do this again. Damien, say something.
Hello.
Can't hear you.
No?
I wonder if it's just my mic.
No clue.
You want to try the 3 buttons thing again, Damien?
Uh-huh. Can you hear me now? No, I mean, there's nothing to try here. Like, I can hear Vansh, and
or I can just keep this
you guys can hear me as well, so you guys can hear me, and I can hear Vansh.
Whenever I put these mic.
Uh-huh.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, for some reason, whenever I put this mic.
I can hear you all right, but I think we might be heading to a rain delay.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Molayani is off the chair, and he is talking to Dan Evans, and probably gonna check the lines if they're wet. But yeah, anyway, we were talking about like US Open dark horses. Let me look at the rankings. What sort of dark horses are we talking about? Like, where do we want them to go? Because I don't know, name Jordan Thompson as a dark horse, but he's not gonna go that deep. Maybe
we'll see another Thompson Manarino final in wins or something.
Yeah, it should be a Thompson Manarino round 1 probably. I don't know. I mean, if he got anything going by Cincinnati and Toronto, could be Ben Shelton, but he needs to get something. Like, it's impossible right now for him. I think maybe the doubles final in Washington will help him, just because like he seemed to have he seemed to have fun on. He seemed to be having fun on the court again. So maybe that actually helps him, because like the losses to Shang, you rarely get Shelton as quiet and lethargic as maybe not throughout these matches, but like at least in some patches. Is there anyone else really, like Sebastian Korda also? If he starts winning matches, he could be a dark horse as well. I know we've already failed on that at Wimbledon. Grigor Dimitrov, he is sort of due a good result, I think. with just how consistent he's been. Born at Chorich is 15th in the rankings. Jesus Christ. That's, of course, not going to be the case very soon after Cincy, but that's wild. I don't know if anyone else really like.
Zverev, maybe? I don't know. That doesn't really.
Yeah, it's not a dark horse, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it counts. But, we can say that it counts. I kind of want to see him on hard first. He's playing Griekspoor actually in the opening round in Toronto. So that's pretty tough. Would be a huge upset alert if not for the fact that Griekspoor has been playing in Washington this week. But yeah, they're actually back on the court, so at least that's good. Perhaps we won't have a delay. And of course,
Honestly,
I only saw like...
Popperin, if he puts it together.
I was looking at his name in the rankings, yeah.
Popperin, Vukic, one of those two.
Is BB a dark horse? Probably is, yeah. Push-ups. And on the women's side,
Danielle
I don't know.
if she gets some momentum going, could be a dark horse.
I don't know if I trust that she will. Definitely not Shuai Zhang. No, maybe Marta Kostiuk. Always a dangerous contender. She had a decent run.
So Svitolina is going to be seeded, but yeah.
Svitolina is just going to be making quarterfinals every single slam now.
Yep.
So 2-1, beautiful volley there from Evans. But yeah, I only saw like bits of that second game in the set, but it was so vital for Griekspoor to push through despite going down low 30. The match probably
Dan has barely
would have
made
been
any errors so far. He made just 3 errors in the whole first set. One of those was a double fault. So
yeah,
very
possible. Although I don't really trust the stats that much in this case, but
probably trust Tennis TV more just because I know the guys who are doing it now, and I feel like they're
not. For example, there's this famous Australian Open 2007 semi, right? Sorry, quarterfinal, right? No, semi or quarterfinal? Semi. Gonzalez Haas, where Fenya was supposed to hit 42 winners and 3 unforced errors. But when you go back, it's like clearly 5, maybe even 6. And
who was the provider for that? Who was the stats company?
No clue. Can't remember. I mean, anything that was official for the Australian Open then.
Yeah, I don't know what it would have been back then.
Yeah,
but that makes sense. Yeah, he's always in Haas. This is random, but I'm eating some of the best salmon right now. So good.
I don't actually. Ooh. Yeah, we're getting a lot of sound from your plate, but don't worry about it that much. I don't eat fish, but I would like to eat something right now, but I haven't eaten in like 10 hours, and it's not because I don't couldn't or something. I just don't have the appetite, and that's also one of the reasons why I think I got sick a bit. I still don't feel like eating at all, even though it's been so long. What's happening right now? Still playing, right? Yeah, still playing.
They're still playing.
Molayani was down off his chair again.
The baseline. I think Griekspoor would want this to be suspended for a bit just so he can gather his momentum. I wouldn't hate it for sure.
Ooh, that's an unforced error from Evans. You have your fourth one as he tries to go for a drop shot and nets it.
Yeah. Yes, that's definitely an unforced. For sure.
Ooh, actually good news. I mean, I don't know if good news, but I guess a bit of expected news a few minutes ago. Alex Michelson decided to change it to go pro, which most
I knew
people
that
were
was coming.
probably expecting. Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you're in the top 150. Makes sense.
No, yeah. I mean,
And you're
personally, I
basically
think that if you're like
uh,
18 and into Grand Slam qualies, it probably makes sense. At the same time, maybe not for everyone, but like Michelson does not seem like a guy who will have a weaker season next year or something.
yeah. At the same time, we
He's
have
the Ben Shelton of
some
2023.
really good players play one semester or 1 year and
Yeah,
still
he
be
actually
playing
hasn't
challengers and
played.
winning.
He actually hasn't played a match. He was supposed to enroll in the fall, but he never got to that stage. So it's like a Tommy Paul type of situation, right? Because Tommy Paul was
Yeah.
supposed to, I can't remember, maybe Georgia as well, actually. And yeah,
So
he
I remember
decided to go pro.
Brandon. He was playing. He was at
Yeah, yeah.
UVA in 2019, but he played all
Nakashima
those
played.
challengers like with matches against Eubanks and Kawahasi and
Francerundolo, right?
yeah.
Francerundolo did 1 year. Of course, Shelton, Abdallah Shelbach. Um, Plenty of players. Like Diallo quit a bit earlier, of course. And there was also a big one with Brooksby, who was in at Baylor for
Oh
a
yeah.
year, but actually never played because he was injured throughout that year. But
Brooksby,
technically,
by the
he
way,
was in
commentating right
college.
now for Tennis Channel
Yeah, yeah.
this week. Uh, he's okay. Like he has good insight from time to time. He's like not obviously not like the most energetic person. Doesn't exude enthusiasm or anything, but he gives some interesting insight, I guess, from a player perspective. Um, Obviously, maybe the controversial thing is that he's out of the tour for a year, like because of the suspension. But I think the contract with Tennis Channel was signed way before that.
Well,
They
Tennis
held him
Channel
on
basically says that the
this.
suspension is ridiculous in this way.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, and then of course he's recovering from the wrist injuries. There's like two of them now. Would you say Evans has the best slice backhand in the top 50?
Um, is there anyone else who really has a chance? Like the problem with,
Probably
I guess,
Dimitrov,
most
but
player.
and Dimitrov has a
Yeah,
better topspin backhand. So,
Dimitrov has a shot for sure. But at the
but
same time, like it's kind of hard to tell which one. Dimitrov is probably, hmm, I don't know. Like part of why Dimitrov's is so good is
he has a better
probably
topspin backhand.
yeah. I'm just talking about the slice. Like part of why Dimitrov's is so good is probably like his flexibility and like just how much he can get to. And maybe with Evans,
Yeah,
it's more, there's more chance to use this shot offensively, and so maybe it would be Evans
I agree.
in that comparison.
I think I agree.
Um, Jordan Thompson, but that's probably only really grass hard, fast hard court where it's any effective. Like Evans and Dimitrov can actually do something with it on
Actually, I
every
would put Andy
surface.
Murray's up there too.
Murray, yeah, fair. Murray and Thompson like play a very
His
similar
slice is
style
really
on
good,
on faster
but I
courts.
mean,
Yeah, yeah. I actually really think that
yeah,
Murray and Thompson play a very similar style on faster courts. So it makes a lot of sense.
mm,
Berrettini,
yeah.
um, Marton Fucovic. Oh, yeah. But he only really uses it in grass, I think, like, that much at least, in order for this to be like a major talking point. He probably only really uses it in grass.
Kind of interesting how a lot of the top players either just don't use it or don't have it.
Yeah, just don't have it most of the time. I remember someone asked me last year when Wimbledon qualifying was around, like which one of these players, like all of these clay courters who suddenly show up at Wimbledon, who out of them has a good slice. And I remember just saying, honestly, like besides maybe Arna Boldi, I couldn't tell you. I maybe have not seen, I don't know, Camilo Carabelli strike a slice backhand in my life. So it's basically impossible for some of these players who just don't use it at all to tell. And it looks like we have a rain delay, so well, I don't know how long it is going to be, but I think I'm actually gonna have to, like, if it's like, I don't know, more than half an hour, I probably can't be back. So we have to figure out some things now, which is write something. I'm gonna do that. Create a banner. Match has been suspended. Will you be back once they are back on the court? Like, provided
Depends how
it's.
long.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on how long. If it's like an hour and a half later, then maybe not.
Okay.
Or if it's like a quick rain delay, I could probably stay on.
So I think for now we probably just keep the stream we leave, we keep the stream going with this banner, and that's basically all we can do, I think. Yeah, for me it's like basically, oh, actually John says if we can stay live for 10-15 minutes I will fix things. Yeah, probably. Can you stay 10-15 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. So we'll just find some stuff to talk about, and maybe they're actually going to be back in 15-20 minutes. Like, who knows?
Yeah, maybe.
Am I happy that the Tash is back for Thompson? Obviously. Rublev slice, says Jake.
Honestly, it's probably not even the worst slice of the top 10. Rublev? Well, maybe. He definitely has some competition.
Maybe Tiafoe.
Alcaraz probably has the best slice right now in the top.
In the top 10. Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, Tiafoe's is good.
Tiafoe, I think I think Tiafoe is probably one of the better picks as well.
Probably Djokovic too, because it's improved.
It's fine, but unspectacular compared to the rest of his game, probably.
For sure. Who else? I mean, yeah, you got Rude, you got Fritz. I mean, Fritz probably has the worst one.
Felix? I don't know if we're counting Felix, but
yeah. This is okay. Not great.
It just doesn't give him anything, which, well, I guess the whole backhand side of his is just Rafa in that very same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rafa has a very good I like his slice.
Fair. Alexander Bublik.
Yep. Decent. It's decent.
Oh, yeah.
Sinner doesn't really have one.
No, definitely not. Alex Kovacevic right now, like a year ago, I probably wouldn't have said that, but Wait, no, he's won some matches with it this year, basically, especially that final against Stephen Wu in Dallas. Dallas, was it Dallas? You know which final I'm talking about. The Challenger in February with Stephen Wu. Maybe it was Cleveland or something actually, rather than Dallas. Yeah, Cleveland. I don't think there was a Challenger in Dallas. Rafa's, yeah, I figured Jake might just be sarcastic, but I don't think he's actually the worst in the top 10. That's why I wasn't really sure. Although I kind of forgot that Auger-Aliassime is already out of the top 10, but because I think maybe he would be worse than Rublev. Like Rublev, when he is forced to hit a slice, I think he actually does pretty okay with it. But yeah, he just doesn't use it much. So. Yeah, I saw that video, Ghosty, where Rublev was talking about Evans's size. Djokovic worst smash in the top 100? Nah.
No, not in the top 100.
Like, he's missed
Also,
some, but at the same time, he
yeah,
hits so many of them. It just
he's
gets
also
more
hit some like
promotion.
good ones, like on championship point. He's hit some good ones.
Yeah,
So that
see ya, Jake.
Australian Open final against Medvedev, he actually hit a pretty tough overhead on championship point.
Yeah, I mean, his overhead is still pretty
He's
world
also
class.
missed,
It's just
we just remember the ones he's missed though, like the
yeah,
Olympics.
it became a meme. But when you actually start rating the accuracy, I think a good example of that is actually that final that he had with Murray in Doha 2017, and Murray was like constantly trying to lob him in that match. Did it like, I don't know, 35 times, and Djokovic missed maybe 3 or 4 of them. So in the long run, it just wasn't effective at all. I understand why he tried it. But...
He actually makes the difficult overheads, but he misses the easy ones. It's funny.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so it's like a concentration issue as well. It's not quite, I don't know, Federer level or Sampras, of course, or Thomas Berdych type of smash, but it's still very decent. Yeah, definitely not the worst in the top 100. Although I am kind of struggling with like coming up with an example of a top 100 player with a poor smash. But probably some of the smaller guys, like I imagine that Jaume Munar probably doesn't have that good a slice. I actually watched him today, of course, in the San Marino final, and he had some issues on a few balls, but most of the time it was, of course, he was like on the defense, so it was more Pellegrino's smashing than Munar. But yeah, otherwise it's kind of hard to come up with examples of players with poor smashes. I guess most of them just kill whatever they need to, and maybe on the tougher overheads, of course, they can be less confident. I would imagine that like maybe someone like Luka Van Asch has a poor smash, or Sebastian Baez, but that's based on nothing but their height. Like I actually cannot really remember that. So who would I most like you? I guess who would you most like to go for some beers drink with? I think Fed would be good. So would Evans. Evans, we would be going for Coke, not beers or drinks. But that's fine if that's your thing, right? So, no, I don't know.
Dimitrov would be fun.
Fed,
I feel like he knows. Yeah, I think Dimitrov of the active players. I like to go for a drink with him.
Makes sense. Yeah. Dimitrov seems like just a very fun person to be around. Yeah. Yeah, Federer as well. Yeah, absolutely. Who else is there? Holger Rune.
Rude, but I don't think he would
definitely
drink
not.
much.
Yeah, probably not. Like, definitely not guys like Ruud, Hurkacz, Jere, Kecmanovic. No, definitely not.
They're nice boys.
Yeah, they're too nice. You're not gonna want to go out for a beer with them. But actually, Hurkacz and Dimitrov are like pretty good friends, so it's kind of surprising. But maybe Dimitrov is just the one who decides where they go and etc. He's just makes sure that the fun activities are there, while Hurkacz is just there smiling and apologizing if he misses a ball at practice. I don't think Adrian Manarino would be good to go out with. I don't think so. Just some of the things that we've heard about him kind of makes him made it seem like a pretty tough person to get to know better.
Yeah.
Well, Murray would be good, like the sense of humor.
Yeah.
I think Shelton potentially as well. Marton Fucsovics definitely not. He would just take his shirt off wherever you go and flex these muscles.
Sinner, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, too nice.
Felix too nice.
Yeah, not a top 100 player, because I think he said top 100 players, right? Or did he? No, he actually didn't. So Ernest Gulbis,
Maybe
I think.
team.
Who?
Maybe team.
Team? I think something more crazy, like Gulbis. That would be insane. Kyrgios, Dustin Brown. Actually, I heard is not as well, that he's just not as flamboyant as his game style. I actually talked about him just a couple of weeks ago with
On the women's side,
with
probably
a friend of
Coco.
mine.
He seems fun to hang out with.
Who? I didn't understand it.
Coco.
Oh. Okay, yeah, but like,
but yeah,
I would like to talk to her, just like, sit down and talk. But like going out for a beer, I guess it's the best way of sitting and talking to someone, because then the nervous energy is gone very quickly. So
yeah, definitely on.
Oh yeah.
100%. Oh, and honestly, Pagula too. Pagula is seems like super chill.
Liam Brody, of course, the friend of the show. Yeah, I think that's a very good pick. Gulbis is was playing last year. I think this year he's played just a few matches.
Coco is 12. Yeah, fair point. She's pretty young.
Yeah, in the States you can go for a beer fair. Gulbis has not played since February. Just for someone asking about him. Kafi, our newest member. Thank you again. Marat Safin, yeah, that would be good for sure. I don't know what it is, but like as on the WTA side, I think a lot of the players kind of seem more tight to me. Like they just wouldn't be that fun to
They just
hang
all get along.
Yeah,
like Badosa and Sabalenka.
Yeah, like you wouldn't really go for a beer with Sabalenka, I think. I don't know, someone like Osaka. No. Yeah, Heather Watson. That could be a nice idea. I agree. Sloane Stevens, maybe.
Maybe Ortiz, people like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kazakina would be fun. Azarenka would be fun. Honestly, probably a lot of good players on the women's side. I don't think about.
Świątek maybe could be fun, but the biggest issue is that Daria Abramovic would be sitting right next to her.
Oh yes. I was just about to say that. Oh my god, that would be kind of creepy. So I would not want to be there.
Yeah, but like, there's no way you're going out without Daria, I think.
Yeah.
Mira Andreeva sounds interesting as well, but of course she's 16, so like there's basically no country in the world where she would be able to buy alcohol. I mean, maybe there is one, I don't know, but
Andreeva would smash a glass. Oh.
And pay 8,000 pounds, I guess. I'm checking right now if there are countries who actually allow someone to purchase alcohol before the age of 18, but So far, I haven't bumped into any on the list that I pulled up. You can buy some things like beer or wine or porter, like some light liquors in Uganda, apparently. But otherwise, it's kind of tough. 16 in Antigua and Barbuda as well. 16 in Cuba, Dominica. So there are countries like this, but no, they're not. They're not ones where you usually play tennis, at least.
Let's see if we have an update on the rain from the DC Twitter page, which they haven't done a great job this week in terms of rain delay updates.
In Austria, you can buy beer, wine, and cider at the age of 16. And in Denmark as well, you can buy beverages of below 16 and 16.5% alcohol by volume. If it's below, you can buy it at 16 as well. That's pretty wild. I think 18 is the fine age to set it at. 21 is definitely kind of old in the States. I don't understand that. Yeah, you're right, John. 16 for a beer in Australia. Voting age at 16. Maybe. It's actually kind of relevant here right now in Poland because there was this right-wing party that when I was in school, we just had some voting organized. Like we couldn't yet vote, but they just organized some votings in school just to see like where people would go to, right, if they could vote. And I remember that in my age group, like this right-wing party was getting huge results. But everyone just sort of assumed that once the generation ages, they're going to change their convictions. But right now, this generation, so like my generation, is actually hitting the polls and hitting the voting rights. And it turns out that this fascination with this party has not actually decreased, and they should be the third major political party in Poland by the next election. Whether someone thinks that's good or not, that's of course a very different story. Personally, I would be voting for them, although economically, I do agree with a lot of their postulates. Just the social thing that is pretty hard to accept for me to accept. Yes, Ghosty, I feel like democracy has failed. I feel like in Poland, it has definitely failed, and it has failed in the sense that the government or like the governing party is now trying to buy votes with our money, basically. Like they're just handing out more socials. And while at first all the other parties said that, how can you give, I don't know, 500 PLN every month for every kid? Right now, if they want to get voted, if they want to get into the government, they actually have to maintain that. They cannot possibly say that they're going to decrease it just because the intelligence will like it, but like the lower social classes, I don't really want to sound like this, but you know what I mean. Like they will just see the money that is in their pocket right now and not the inflation and the rising prices in shops. So yeah, I actually feel that democracy has failed, and it's not a perfect system. I just don't know a better one. So yeah, AFD I think is a good comparison. I did this presentation last year about what was it, like social media maybe in political elections, and AFD was like part of my speech. And yeah, just how they used some very striking imagery to gain votes. And yeah, I think they're basically at a similar level of popularity right now as that party that I mentioned in Poland. that's a bit of a trend going all over Europe as well. I think that the most right-wing parties are now getting, maybe not to rule, but they are becoming important forces on the political landscape. That was really interesting, I hope. Wasn't expecting to be talking about this on this stream, but you know. Yeah, I mean, I get that you're ignorant about Polish politics. Like, obviously, you're not gonna have a clue about it, but we're like basically going into like Hungary mode. At least that's like what the governors right now are trying to model our country's system on. And Hungary is like, not really a democracy anymore. And of course, there's this basically a tyrant who's leading it all. So yeah, not the greatest of systems, but it is just like we are trying, or at least the governing party, it is focused on like social benefits rather than giving people jobs actually. So yeah, I don't really like that, but I understand that it's probably like this in a lot of countries, especially in Europe. But well, let's say first world countries, right? That's where it probably is. I tend to think that like less developed economies, these issues don't really pop up just because there are like more important things to worry about.
Yeah.
But yeah. Still doesn't look like okay. I actually have an update on my stream, and it's not before 19:30, which should be 45 minutes from here, I think.
Oh,
Is that right? Is that right?
19:30
Or...
local. Yes.
Yeah.
That's 40 minutes from now.
So 45 minutes from here. So we're just waiting for John to come in and like fix all of this. He should be in pretty soon, from what I remember. And yeah, I think 45 minutes might be too much for me, but I will like try to do maybe something else in the meantime, and then maybe I'm still up by the time they get back, if they even get back at 19:30, right? Because that's no guarantee. The weather actually looks a lot worse now than it did when they were taking them off the court.
Hopefully that Prague final is able to finish.
Yeah. They're starting the second semi tomorrow at what, 10 a.m. I think. I mean, of course, it can be just a few points. It literally can be 3 points for Hibino and they're done. So it's actually better for Hibino this way, right? Because if she finished today and still had to play the final today, it would have been a huge struggle. Like the difference between her and Noskova, where Noskova won a match in an hour, and Hibino had this long, drawn-out battle. Yeah, she might have to, right? Like she has to play on Tuesday, so even if she goes, she's gonna be a wreck by the time she gets there. Yes, Novak is playing Sensi.
Yes. Alcaraz is just posted a video of himself practicing with Bruna. Yesterday he did play a practice set against Medvedev.
Who?
Yesterday Alcaraz played a practice set against Medvedev and lost it in a tiebreak. Not really that relevant, but yeah, this is practice. But could be.
Can't remember who it was, but there was, I think it was Schwartzman, that Federer lost a practice set to at Roland Garros 2019, which I remember I was kind of overreacting about.
Yeah.
But it ended up not mattering. I mean, he had a great Roland Garros that year, so. Yeah, that's really interesting, Ghosty, that study that you're talking about. That indeed would be weird.
Federer and Schwartzman were going to play each other in the fourth round, but Schwartzman lost to Leonardo Meyer.
That would be 2019.
Yeah.
Leonardo Meyer, yeah, that was a pretty easy draw, I gotta say, but still he played Ruud in the third round, and it actually felt pretty huge already at that time. And of course, had a great match with Wawrinka, and I think he did fine against Nadal as well. Couldn't really win, but matchup issues, wind, everything was sort of against him, but I think he still played at a pretty high level.
Yep.
Surely a serious US Open contender wouldn't start their season until Canada. Do you mean until or after? Because if you're talking about Novak. But yeah, most people, of course, are basically starting with Toronto with their like serious contenders, as you said. But then again, on the men's side, you have like 3 serious contenders. So it's obvious that like guys like Fritz have to play. And he's already earned almost 500 points in this North American hardcourt swing. So can Stan make a run at the US Open? Like all year, he's been playing much better than the results. Whether the US Open is actually that chance. Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if the faster US Open is gonna be good for him though. Like at this stage of his career, he's kind of good on clay when he just has a lot of time to set up for the strokes. So yeah, he missed a few chances in the clay season.
He would want one of those because Popperin was really struggling in that third set.
Yeah, and also the match against Fritz in Monte Carlo, which I know he lost in 2, but he had a billion set points. And yeah, just many matches like this, basically.
Of course, we could have seen Team versus Wawrinka in 2020 at Roland Garros until Hugo Gaston decided to just show up and drop shot a million times.
Yeah, Hugo Gaston was quite something. That's true that year. Gotta go, says Ghosty. See ya. John is taking a bit longer than expected, but I hope he'll be here soon. Otherwise, I might have to come up with some more political dialogue, and I might be maxed out already. No, not that into politics, to be honest. I guess I'm not that into anything but tennis, really. So that's maybe a bit of a stretch, but being a tennis fan definitely takes up a lot of your day. John says, guys, we can wrap.
Okay, yeah.
But aren't you going to be here in like 2 minutes?
2 minutes?
I'm talking to John. Because he said he was going to be here in like 15-20. But at this, unless you mean that we can wrap so that you want to end the stream.
I think we could end it.
Yeah, like for me, it's going to be pretty hard to be back, honestly.
I think so for me too. Like, especially if they start 4:45. I don't think I can stay there until the end.
Yeah. Okay, so you just want us to end the stream, okay? Like, I'm waiting for your last last okay, I guess. But if you say that it's okay for us to end the stream, John in the chat once more. Yeah, we can end the stream, he says. So yeah, thank you guys. Sorry that we didn't watch it until the end, but of course we cannot really predict the rain, and yeah, hopefully this match is going to be much better after it returns. Maybe it returns tomorrow.
Yeah.
Who knows? But yeah. Yeah. Anything else? Probably not, right?
Nope. I think we covered it.
All right. So I'll just finish the stream right here. Thanks to all the guys in the chat. I think maybe some of you are already gone, but well, that's just something we cannot really control. Anyway, see you, and yeah, good luck to Griekspoor and Evans, I guess.